ABC7, your local station.
Marissa, thank you. And joining us now live in the studio with some insight on this case is our ABC7 legal analyst, Alexis Rosenberg.
Yeah, Alexis, thank you for joining us. You know, Benefield, you saw they're given 20 years by the judge. Were you surprised by this, given that she was actually convicted of that lesser charge of manslaughter?
I was surprised because when we were initially listening to the sentencing, it appeared that the judge was saying that there was justification for some of the prongs related to downward sentencing. However, at the very last, he said, you know, I have a right not to allow the downward and make a decision that I am not going to sentence in that manner, and that's what he did.
Yeah, and Benefield also getting 10 years probation in addition to the 20 years and credit for time served. So do you think she's actually going to serve this full sentence?
Well, generally in the state of Florida, they will serve 85% of the sentence, which will be about 17 years, which still is a substantial amount of time, especially coupled with the fact that she has such a young daughter.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, the credit for time served, you know, she was only put behind bars in July when the initial manslaughter verdict came down. You know, her lawyers had also been pushing for a new trial, claiming juror misconduct. Judge Matt White, of course, denying that request. Does her defense team at this point, Alexis, have any other legal options to vacate this verdict and sentence?
Well, they have 30 days to appeal the sentencing. And at one point during the sentencing, the judge was making a determination about one issue and said, well, we'll ultimately find out if I was right about this prong. So they do have that time. I'm sure her attorneys are going to file an appeal related to that.
And what happens next, Alexis? They could file an appeal, but what happens now for her?
Well, they're going to have the appeal related to the trial that is pending, but we also will have the appeal related to the sentencing and whether that was done correctly. At this point, she's incarcerated. She is going to continue to be incarcerated for the duration of that until either an appellate court says otherwise or in case that it comes back appealing the sentencing amount and that sentencing amount changes.
Still many questions that remain.
That's right. And joining us now live in the studio with some insight once again on this case, our ABC7 legal analyst, Alexis Rosenberg.
Yeah, Alexis, thank you so much for joining us. You know, today Circuit Court Judge Matthew White said that while he believed that Ashley Benefield had acted under duress and even showed remorse for killing her husband, he said that she did not deserve a reduced sentence. What are your thoughts?
Wasn't that surprising?
It was.
He acknowledged that she was under duress. He also acknowledged that the husband was an actual aggressor at the situation, at the incident when it occurred. He also acknowledged that she really didn't have any prior. So it is interesting that after that was all determined, he turned around and said, basically, I don't care. I'm not taking that into consideration.
And what do you think's next for Benefield? Do you think she will fight this decision, and do you think she'll actually serve the full 20 years?
So she does have a right to appeal the sentence. She has 30 days to do that. So I do foresee that that will happen, especially with him just saying, I'm going to disregard all of those things, even though I believe that, you know, they were present. And then also in Florida, generally it's 85% of the sentence. So, but we're still talking 17 years. It's a very long time.
Yeah, indeed. You know, Benefield's lawyers, they had been pushing for a new trial. Obviously, it was based on some juror misconduct. Obviously, that did not happen. But, you know, I want to go back to what you were talking about when it sounded like, listening to the sentence come down, that the judge was actually going to be very lenient on her.
Yeah, we were all shocked.
Yeah, and then he just did that flip around.
Yep.
Is that common?
That was very much a flip around. You're right. He was, of course, going through the different prongs that are necessary as part of the sentencing, saying, did you meet this? Did you meet that? But, I mean, he was finding where we're listening, and he was saying, yes, that's present. And then he said, no, you know, and then he hit her with 20 years. So I was surprised at the way the flow of that was going.
Okay. And, of course, a sad situation for the little girl. She, you know, leaves with family. So
horrible.
All right. Thanks again, Alexis. We appreciate your insight in this.
Thanks for your time.
7 legal analyst Alexis Rosenberg. And Alexis, thanks so much for joining us again. And Alexis, the defense had asked the court for what's known as a lenient downward departure. What exactly is that, and how could it have impacted today's ruling?
Well, it could have had a major impact. So they filed a motion basically saying take these things into consideration and actually sentence her below the mandatory minimum. And the judge could have done that. And some of the things they asked to be taken into consideration is that she had been diagnosed with PTSD, that he was deemed the aggressor during the incident, along with some other things such as she was in duress during the incident.
And we did hear in Jordan's story telling us that the attorney would like the media to meet her appellate, the appellate lawyer soon. Do you think an appeal is likely, and how might the question of jury misconduct affect all that?
Well, there's currently an appeal of the conviction. So what she was referring to now is that the defendant has the opportunity to file an appeal related to the sentencing and how that was calculated from 30 days from today to do that. In likelihood, they'll do that as well.
Okay. Well, it has been a lot of drama unfolding with this case, no doubt about that. Alexis Rosenberg, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And our ABC7